the one who will hold responsible. We've asked the person to step aside whilst investigations go on. The investigation reports will show whether the person has been culpable or not. So why would we allow the committee to do its work?
He's a minister. If the
yes,
energy
he
sector
is the supervising minister.
Good.
There is a CEO who is in charge of that area. So the CEO who is in charge of that area should not be held responsible.
Okay. Now, it is also true as we speak, beside the legacy debt, which has been ring-fenced, government, we understand, owes the IPPs and gas suppliers a total of $700 million. Not so?
That is a blatant lie.
Okay.
Let me just not even complicate this issue.
Okay.
Kojo, you are a very reputable journalist. You've been in this sector for years. In the last 15 months, have you had any utility write a letter to government or openly threaten government to stop generation or to cut pipes, gas supply because government is owed?
But don't
that
you?
Is not the case.
But don't you? So you don't owe them?
That is not. You see, it is a recurring expenditure.
Okay.
You are supplying each time. But the good news is that we are current with them. And you speak to all of them. You can call Dr. Eliklim and then you can call the institutions we work with. We are current with them. The cash waterfall has been managed prudently and that the people are happy. In fact, for months, they have even run to us with new projects to tell us that they want to come up with new power projects because payment has been solid. In fact, some of them who in the past were requesting for guarantees, this time I'm not requesting for those guarantees again because they are comfortable with how Dr. Jinapor and government have managed the payment system. And so that is completely false. Maybe they are talking about their own record. That is their record.
Okay.
They depleted $500 million of gas supply and did not pay.
Okay, but let me get
let
me get this
That is
clear.
Important. Just
okay.
30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds, please. They sat down and had Car Power and other institutions write letters to threaten that they are going to shut down. That is their record. They left this government with no fuel, even when we're taking the reins of power. That is their record. They left over 80 billion at ECG in utility. Up to now, ECG has been struggling with debt. They were spending over 9 billion in a year on procurement. So
if I get you, Richmond, it is true that we still owe the IPPs some $700 million, but we are current with them now, right?
We are current with them. The legacy debt, we engaged them. They discounted the legacy debt by $250 million. And then since then, we've been paying according to the work plan that we had with them. And they are very happy. You can ask any of them.
I get it. How much do we owe in the legacy debt?
How much do we owe in the legacy debt? I'll
Yes.
have to check what the debt is now with finance to get, because we keep paying every month.
We know that it is $707 million.
That is false. Is it you? Are you saying you know
the
or
data,
the minority?
for what we've gathered from your data your government has released.
No, and that's what I'm telling you, that we'll have to check from them, because the first thing we did was that we met a debt of over $3 billion. We made some payments last year. We ring-fenced the rest, and we are current with them. What we have to pay them each month, we pay them as we speak.
You said $3 billion. Is it dollars or cedis?
Over $3 billion. In fact, the right amount is over $3.6 billion. That's how much they left us in utility debt.
So what is the 1.4 billion in legacy IPP obligations that I see? Is that different?
What is the 1.4
billion that we understand this administration inherited? Approximately $1.4 billion in legacy IPP obligations.
We have paid them 1.47 billion. That is what we've paid them. We've paid gas bills. We've paid IPPs. We've restored the World Bank guarantee.
All right, that's fine. Now, in terms of we understand the third unit at Akosombo has come on stream. Is that it?
Yes, that is accurate. Let me comment.
So, if that is so, do we then take it that tonight we won't sleep in darkness anyway?
Let me commend the technical team for the work they are doing. Since Thursday, a lot of them have been sleeping.
Well, I get that you want to commend them. We all commend them. But let's get to the issues about whether or not we will be sleeping in darkness tonight.
Could you one after the other, please? I'll answer all your questions.
I want you
Don't
to
worry.
answer because of time.
I'll answer your
The
question.
main thing
Yes.
Ghanaians want to know is whether or not some people will be sleeping in darkness tonight.
I'll answer your question, so don't worry. Let me commend them for the work they are doing.
Roxanne, you've done that. People have heard you. You've commended them. I want to know whether or not some people will be sleeping in darkness or not.
Let me. I'll answer your question. So there's no need with.
No, it is the time, Roxanne. I beg you.
Question. I'll answer. Don't worry. Last night we were there. Minister visited them around 9 p.m. We were with the team till about 1 a.m. And then they assured Minister that today you're going to have the third turbine come on stream. We know that the turbines are 6 for Akosombo. That gives us about 1,000 megawatts. And so what it means is that at this point you have about 50% of the capacity of Akosombo being restored, which is significant development when it comes to our supply plan. Whether or not we'll have people sleep in darkness tonight or not, like Honorable Minister mentioned, we keep reviewing and updating what the demand and the supply will be. And so we'll be able to respond to that question looking at what the demand will be this evening as provided by GRIDCo. If we have enough to be able to supply, I'm sure that will be done. If there's a deficit, and then we would have to, through ECG, put out the indicators, and then the areas that will have to go off tonight, we'll do that. And so we'll check what the demand is, what the supply is, and
as we speak, Roxanne, do you know when, where they should expect some darkness tonight or not?
I just answered that question, that we'll be able to respond to that looking at what the demand will be.
It is the reason I also asked you that as we speak, you do not know, because it's almost getting to 6. People have to plan.
No, as we speak, ECG has put out, please, you see, as we speak, ECG had earlier made announcements based on the information that was available. Now that we have the third one come on stream, ECG would have to look at the supply plan. GRIDCo will have to look at the supply plan, what the demand is, what the supply plan will be, and then they will be able to advise ECG on what the planning should be. And what we've seen in the last 3 days is that, for example, yesterday ECG had made a plan. You had the second one come on stream, and so they had to revise. And so yesterday, even where ECG had announced that some areas are going to go off, those areas were not off because you had additional capacity coming. And that is the impact this will also make tonight. And so that will be based on what the demand will be. We'll look at what the supply plan, and then the GRIDCo and ECG will plan.
But I mean, Roxanne, yesterday some areas that were not included in the list still were off in the night. So really, people cannot plan because they don't know whether or not indeed the list will be followed through.
That is completely false, and there's no point misleading the public. Every area that had been published by ECG that was
Roxanne, when you say it is completely false, you want to say that we are not living here. We are in a newsroom with people living in several areas. People whose areas were not part of the list had to sleep in darkness, and you say it is completely false. Say you don't know.
No. When you ask me a question, allow me to respond, and then you can follow up with a question. If you don't allow me to respond, we will not be able to have a good conversation.
No. I allowed you. I asked the question about people who were not part of the list sleeping in darkness.
There were areas
and you said
that
no.
were not included, but they ended up going off. I'm saying that is not accurate. What our data shows is that a lot of the areas that were announced to go off rather did not, because we had additional capacity coming. And that is why I wanted to make the point clear that the information you're putting out is not accurate. Rather, we had an improvement in supply rather than what the original plan should have been.
Well, Richmond, I'm grateful to you, but the point is that when additional, power came in, still some people were not originally part of the list.
I never said that some people did not go off. I never said that. Okay. I have said that.
Let's end it.
We had an improvement,
and
so there were areas where they were scheduled to go off. Rather, they had their lights being on because we had improvement in supply.
I'm grateful to you, Richmond. Roxanne is spokesperson and head of communications at the Energy Ministry. This has been Top Story, Appiah News Night.
And tonight, government accuses the former MPP administration and past officials of the Electricity Company of Ghana of procuring substandard transformers, some of which have already broken, fueling the ongoing power outages.
But there are some transformers that were brought in just within the last few years that didn't even last longer. Some transformers that were bought not too long ago, as compared to where transformers should last more than 10 years.
They are broken down?
Some are broken down.
We have details that show there may have been a power generation gap even before the fire.
Also tonight, a disaster in waiting as fresh assessments of the Volta Basin reveal over 2,000 buildings and structures sitting in waterways despite warnings after the 2023 Akosombo Dam spillage.
For example, we're being told that the buffer is about 50 meters from the river, but I can tell you, no structure is being erected within the river bank that has the buffer of 50 meters, none.
We have details as the Volta River Authority raises alarm over increasing encroachment along critical flood paths.
In business,
fuel price is expected to ease from Friday after National Petroleum Authority announced new price floor today.
In sports,
Sports Minister Kofi Adams confirms GFA pays Carlos Queiroz' hotel bills, not the state.
and a bit later, Ghana takes another shot at getting its wings back as government launches fresh search for investors to help establish a new national airline. We'll bring you details later in the bulletin. The latest of these and many other stories are up in the next 1 hour. Feel free to be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Details after this.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter Angela.
Kojo, why? Tea cash naba. No papa
Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello sir, Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones, we keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me down my dark with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Did you know that Ghana's Children's Act, Section 91, clearly says,
no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor.
That means children must not be made to do work that deprives them of their education, health, or development.
Hazardous work?
That is not allowed. Working in stone quarries, carrying heavy loads as kayaye, hawking on busy streets in the scorching sun, being used as domestic servants in homes, or diving into dangerous waters to untangle nets, rowing canoes for hours under the hot sun, and working all day without food or rest.
Yet, too many of our children are trafficked from towns and villages across Ghana to the shores of the Volta Lake, trapped in fishing boats, robbed of their childhood, and exposed to danger every single day.
Human trafficking means the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or trading of persons within and across national borders for purposes of exploitative labor.
I want to go to school, but now I only work.
This is child trafficking.
It is a crime.
It is against the law, and it must stop now.
Parents, guardians, community leaders, protect our children.
Report suspicious movement of children and do not give your child away to strangers promising jobs.
Together, let's end child trafficking now.
This message is brought to you by the International Justice Mission with support from the National Commission for Civic Education.
Enjoy homemade taste of shito always with Didi Shito. Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. That's how we taste. Spicy we eat.
Didi Shito, if you do need. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello CEOs, Ghana's foremost business platform marks 10 years of leadership impact. Join the 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on Thursday, 28th May 2026 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kempinski Hotel Accra. The summit is themed Accelerating Ghana's Economic Transformation, driving bold reforms through leadership, technology, and industrialization. Tagline, from vision to action. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will attend as special guest of honor and officially launch the CEO Government Compact 2026. Highlights include presidential CEO dialogue, masterclasses, panels, brand expo, CEO profiles, networking, and the Ghana CEO Excellence Gala. Registered now at GhanaCEOSummit.com. Call 054-639-1970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by CEO Network Ghana in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, EY, GIPC, SIGA, University of Ghana, Media General, and the Multimedia Group. The 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo, a decade of leadership impact. T&C supply.
Good evening. Government says substandard transformers procured under the previous MPP administration are part of the reasons behind the ongoing power outages. For weeks, Ghanaians have faced erratic supply, with government pointing to aged and faulty transformers, a situation worsened by the Akosombo fire, which cut a significant chunk of power from the grid. The Energy Ministry says about 2,500 transformers need fixing nationwide. Deputy Energy Minister John Jinapor says even some newly installed units must be replaced, blaming poor quality procurement. He spoke on PM Express with Evans Mensah.
Just as the minister reported, in 2024, ECG budget was over 9 billion. But what did they use the 9 billion to? What did they buy with the 9 billion? As compared to now, ECG has a budget of 1.8 billion. And look at the number of transformers, look at the number of network improvement that they are doing over the period.
In 2024, I did an interview with the then MD of ECG. And he had said at the time that their audit shown that a lot of their transformers were overloaded. And so they began changing the transformers across the country, and they bought a huge number of transformers. What happened to that project that they started at the time?
That's what I'm saying, that we should be very diligent when it comes to whatever we buy. There are some that report that some transformers that were bought, mostly transformers are kept for over several years. I have some facility that I bought a transformer which is that's 2016, up to now, 10 years, is still working. I bought and paid for it. But there are some transformers that were brought in just within the last few years that didn't even last longer.
They were installed?
Yes, installed. There are some transformers that has also been, some were even installed and then were not even operationalized. We inherited.
And you're also suggesting that they actually bought substandard transformers.
So, at least for the report that I have received reports where some transformers that were bought not too long ago, as compared to where transformers should last more than 10 years.
They are broken down?
Some are broken down. Maybe as a result of maybe overloading. Some, even if you buy a very robust transformer and it's overloaded, obviously you will face some challenges with it.
That's the Deputy Energy Minister, John Jinapor, and he has added that ECG and NEDCO are targeting a one-year timeline to address the problem.
The reports I have from ECG indicate that they will need up to close to almost about 2,000 transformers, and it's not only the ECG alone. We also look at NEDCO as well. So this is the reason why the minister the president announced that we are trying to infuse about 2,500 or more transformers into the system. So those need to be replaced totally, and it's a process. It's a phase. The first phase It's critically to look at those that needs to be immediately be replaced. Some are damaged. Damaged transformers have to quickly be replaced. That's the first phase, and we'll be doing it within the next 3 months. Within 3 months, we need to fix all damaged transformers. Today, NEDCO reports that they have installed, within the last 1 week, they've installed almost about over 140 transformers. And then ECG, also over the last 1 week, also reports installing almost about 190 transformers.
So when do you hope to complete this mass transformer project?
So it is in phases. We have the first 3 months, the next 3 months, and then the rest that will be done within a year.
Okay, so you are talking. So this will end next year.
So we're looking at basically by the end of this year, we should be able to cover a lot more of the.
But you complete this entire nationwide upgrade and replacement of transformers by
in a period of 1 year.
Within 1 year.
Yes.
So we should expect Dumsor to continue for 1 year.
Obviously, you see, when the transformer goes down, there are a lot of engineering works that are done. You can move a power from one transformer to the other. We want to make sure that we have a very robust system that will be able to contain any pressure that comes on. It doesn't mean that any transformer that we are changing is overloaded.
Meanwhile, the Energy Ministry is pushing back against claims that the crisis existed before the Akosombo fire, also dismissing suggestions of a generation shortfall. Addressing the press in Parliament a while ago, Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee, Collins Adumakomensa, first insisted the recent crisis precedes the fire at Akosombo last Thursday.
I must state plainly and without qualification, Ghana's power crisis, the Dumsor that millions of Ghanaians have been enduring since January 2025, was not caused by any accident at Akosombo. It was caused by this government. The events of 23rd April are the latest and most dramatic symptom of a power sector left to decay under the NDC's incompetent stewardship. The Mahama government must not be permitted to use this incident as a convenient alibi for a crisis that predates it by more than a year. And the NPP minority will not allow that cynical rewriting of history to pass unchallenged. Let us be unequivocal about the timeline. Long before the event of 23rd April 2026, Ghanaians across every region of this country had been enduring persistent, unannounced, and devastating power outages. ECG had been issuing relentless emergency and maintenance schedules throughout April 2026. The ECG Director General had already issued public apologies for chronic power fluctuations, causing damage to household equipment and crippling small businesses. Communities were living in darkness, not for hours, but for days. Industries were hemorrhaging losses. Cold stores were warming. Hospitals were straining on generators. That was the reality of Ghana's power sector before any incident at Akosombo.
But the Energy Ministry in a statement denied the claims. My colleague Michael Ashali is in studio with more. Michael, what's the ministry saying?
Well, in that statement, it says that Ghana's installed generation capacity is just under 6,000 megawatts, while peak demand is around 4,300 to 4,400 megawatts. This clearly indicates that the country is not operating under a structural generation shortfall. Now, the statement continues to say that the system operators continuously manage supply through standard tools such as dispatch optimization, fuel switching, and reserve deployment. These, they tell us, are not normal practices, actually, and not signs of a failing system, and that the temporary disruptions are being addressed, and the current loss of capacity from the Akosombo system was a temporary shock, not evidence of a systemic failure. It continues to add that restoration is already underway with a significant portion of capacity back online and full recovery expected shortly. And that also finally, claim of generation deficit oversimplifies a complex dynamic system and leads to the wrong conclusion, and that Ghana does not lack generation capacity. So those are the excerpts of that statement from the Energy Ministry in regards to some claims about whether Ghana has the generation or whether the problem is solely, as we have been told, transformers and the problem from Akosombo.
Thank you very much, Michael Ashali, with details of that statement by the Energy Ministry.
Let's hear from you about the power situation in your area. You can send us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. Head of the Joy News Research Desk, Isaac Ofieje, is joining me in studio with findings indicating there may have been a power generation gap even before the fire that gutted the Akosombo substation last Thursday. Kofi, what has been the situation of Ghana's power generation since the beginning of this year?
Well, so if you compare the data that we've been looking at from January 1st to 22nd April 2026, a day before the fire, what you see is that the average generation in terms of all the thermal plants we have, the hydro plant, plus the solar sources, was averaging somewhere around 3,400 megawatts. That was the average production, looking at morning, afternoon, and evening. In fact, that's the average production since January 1st, between January 1st and 22nd April. So when we found the average, what we saw was that we were generating close about 3,400. And if you compare this to our peak demand, which is, we have to know that we are comparing the averages for the three categories. So our peak demand of 4,300 or 4,400, and over the period that we've looked at since the beginning of the year, you see at least a deficit of about 1,000 megawatts. But if you are comparing possibly the available power to the production or the generation at peak hours, what you see is that the deficit reduces a bit to about 800 on average, about 700 and 800 megawatts in terms of deficit. That is what we can report in terms of the data that we've been looking at since yesterday.
And break this down for me. How dire was the situation a day before the fire outbreak?
So a day before the fire outbreak, what you see is that in the morning, or the morning category, what you see is that all power plants were producing 3,141 megawatts in terms of power, and in the afternoon it increased to 3,482, and in the evening increased significantly to 3,985 megawatts. If you find the average for this three period, it means on the day before the fire outbreak, we were doing on average 3,141 megawatts. If you compare this to a peak demand of 4,300, that gives you a deficit of about 1,159. But if you compare it to the peak production of 3,958, for that you get a smaller deficit, which is less than 1,000 megawatts. So that was the situation before the fire outbreak. It showed that there was a deficit, even if you're comparing peak production to peak demand, or the average generation to peak demand, you still find a deficit in there.
That means Akosombo wasn't producing at maximum before the fire outbreak.
Absolutely. The data shows that on average, since 1st April, Akosombo's average production has been around 671 megawatts. That was compared to its dependable capacity of 900 megawatts. So Akosombo can actually produce 900 at dependable, but before the incident, if you do possibly a 22-day average, what you get is about 671, which gives you a gap of about somewhere 230 megawatts in terms of what Akosombo can actually produce. A day before the fire incident, Akosombo was producing below capacity. It was producing 769 on the average. And so definitely the data is telling you that even 24 hours before the fire, Akosombo itself wasn't producing at dependable capacity level. It was below what was earmarked, 900 megawatts.
The Energy Ministry, since you put this data out somewhere yesterday, have been challenging our figures. Do the data they provide add up?
Well, so, they have actually issued a rejoinder, and according to that rejoinder that Papani just walked you through, they say that installed capacity is just a little over 6,000, and they compared that to peak demand of 4,300. And let's do this math. we need to also understand that there's a difference between installed capacity, that is the maximum you can go into in terms of generation,
right?
And that is different from dependable capacity, which is always lower than installed. And according to the Energy Commission's 2025 Energy Outlook, our dependable capacity is about 4,855 megawatts, which means that if you are comparing, if you're saying that because we have an installed capacity of about a little below 6,000 and your peak demand is about 4,000, then you cannot have a crisis. That is completely misleading because, in fact, what we have shown is that our available power supply was really below the installed capacity. The average, as I just mentioned, was about 3,400. And the question be put, if your installed is about 6,000 and your peak demand is 4,300 and you claim because of that you cannot have a crisis, Akosombo is just about 900 in terms of dependable.
Right.
That simply means that if what you put out in your rejoinder is the case, taking Akosombo should not cause any problem because your 6,000 minus your peak demand of 4.3K, that should give you a surplus of about 1.7 or 1,700 megawatts, right? If you take away Akosombo of 900, you should still have a big surplus to deal with. So that in itself is telling you that there's a challenge with generation.
Isaac Ofieje, thank you very much. Gyasi from Sakumono says, please tell the spokesperson of the Energy Ministry to shed his repugnant cloak of arrogance. I live in Leshibi. The minister said yesterday that after the replacement of transformers, affected areas are now enjoying stable power supply. Not long after that statement, power went off in my area until after midnight. So Roxanne should show some respect when addressing the public. And Jonas Tinkran says, neither Roxanne nor any other government appointee should make Ghanaians feel as though we are blind to what is currently happening. We do not want a repeat of the many excuses during the MPP era that led to no sustainable solutions. Whatever name we give to the current situation, fix it so we can have peace. President Mahama, this is a core issue on which you must deliver. It is a demand, not a request.
On the flip side, Deputy Energy Minister John Jinapor says he has disconnected his personal generator to experience the outages firsthand. He admits his family, especially his wife, is unhappy, but insists he wants to feel what Ghanaians are going through.
And where I live, there's one thing I have done personally. It's not an easy task though. Immediately I was given my position as the Deputy Energy Minister, I took off the genset, the plant in my house. I took it off.
Why?
Because at that point, I wanted to. Because when there's a light off, when the light goes off, I want to experience it. So if my light goes off, I quickly, or even when I'm not in the house, I would receive a call that, oh, our area, the light is gone off. Sometimes I send text messages to them. I've received reports. The lights have gone off within my area or this area. And even when I drive through town, when I see it, quickly I send messages to them. So they get back to me that, oh, they have done this, this feeder has done this, and so I'm monitoring. Sometimes I can monitor, and immediately the power comes back, they would report back to me that the power is back.
So you deliberately put off your personal...
I didn't just leave it, was that I was tempted. I actually moved it out of my house.
So you moved it?
Yes.
You disconnected it?
I moved it out.
And moved it out?
Yes. And for 1 year, even though I'm having some, I will be comfortable with it, but my landlady will not be comfortable with that. So
you mean your commander-in-chief?
Yes. So these are some of the challenges I've gone through.
Oh, I wish the deputy minister would give me his generator to use. Oh my God, please bring me your generator.
You are feeling the
I'm
heat,
feeling
right?
the heat, just like you are as well. Let's bring you more stories this evening because 2,000 unauthorized buildings and structures are sitting in the path of the next potential flood. That's the warning from the Volta River Authority tonight. Fresh checks on the Volta Basin show massive encroachment on river banks with structures built illegally inside buffer zones. VRA says it is limiting their ability to manage water and could worsen any future Akosombo spillage.
This comes after 2023 spillage displaced over 30,000 people. Ada East DCE Kenneth says politically backed land reclamation has made the situation even worse. He calls it a disaster waiting to happen. He was speaking at the launch of an emergency preparedness plan in Accra.
When you get to the river bank, somebody can go in for a one plot of land. At the end of it, he does what we call the reclaiming of the land, and they will get about 3 plots, 4 plots. When you ask them who gave you the permit or who sold the land to you, they will tell you the landlord sold it to them. For example, we're being told that the buffer is about 50 meters from the river, but I can tell you, no structure is being erected within the river bank that has the buffer of 50 meters. None. 2,000 structures within the river banks. Now that the Adan enclave have been encroached, the next one is they are heading towards the islands. You know, the onset, the islands are not being touched, but today, because of development going on, the islands are being touched, and that the islands are the areas where this environmental protection agencies and others need to come in for us to work. We've stopped about 18 structures that are going. They intend to claim those land in front of them. We stopped them. Even the Shamfa machine that were used, we were able to see some of them. At the back of Aqua Safari is another buffer that is noted as a Ramsar site. Today, as we speak, there are a lot of development that is going on. When you get there and you tell them to stop, the only thing that they tell you, this was built by A or B or C.
My colleague Stephen Mensah joins me in studio with more on this. Stephen, tell us the extent of the encroachment.
So, Gemma, what we understand from the district chief executive will be that it's quite extensive. The encroachers have largely ignored the 50-meter buffer zone regulation for construction, and they are currently encroaching the Ramsar sites. And this is critical because these Ramsar sites are wetlands, and they essentially keep some animals and some essential activities that are needed for natural habitation.
Right, Stephen. And why will this be critical?
This will be critical because it directly undermines emergency preparedness around dam operations. And the emergency preparedness plan is designed as an early warning system to guide stakeholders on how to respond to potential incidents involving the dam. And we can listen to the engineer Abdul Wahab, the director of water resources and renewable energy at the authority, the Volta River Authority, and he has been making the point for the strict enforcement of safety measures and the need for the emergency preparedness plan.
The emergency preparedness plan is an early warning tool that helps all the stakeholders involved in emergency related to the dam operations to know their roles and responsibilities as far as managing an emergency related to the dam is concerned. And when it comes to managing an emergency related to the dam, we talk of two main forms of emergencies. One is emergency related to controlled spillage from the dam, and the second is an emergency related to the dam break. Together, we solicit ideas as to how best do we solve some of the problems that are confronting us, and we believe continuous stakeholder engagement is one of the best ways of addressing this, and that is the standard practice.
Let's go on to the telephone lines right now and speak to Vincent Opon Asamoah. He's the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee in Parliament. Mr. Asamoah, welcome to the program. What do you make of this new revelation by the VRA?
Yeah, good evening, my brother. Whilst a country have all the laws, but we have failed to implement any of our laws or enforcement of any of our laws. What do you expect? Because after going through all these last 2 years, we know the spillage and the problem that it caused. And we have the district assemblies all over the place. They have this special planning unit. They are supposed to enforce some of these structures where not to put up these structures. And if they fail to do that, I think the MMDCs, they have to add this to their KPIs. If they are unable to enforce some of these building regulations, then they are not fit to be there. So I have my own difficulties with most of the MMD, especially those in Accra and then those at the coastal areas. Some women at the beaches, a lot of things go on, and we know very well that these are some of the issues that also exacerbate the issue of flooding. Yet, we sit aloof, we don't do anything, and then we'll just allow it to happen. And then, like an annual ritual, we come back, we discuss, and then once things are settled, we go back to sleep, and then we wait for the next rainy season. So, to me, it's quite unfortunate. Just this afternoon, we're discussing an issue in Secretary Takrady area. If the sea defense project that we have constructed at a very high cost to the state, that is where people are molding blocks. Right now, what they do is that they will send they'll buy cement, go to the beaches, mold the blocks there, and carry it away. So right now, most of the sea defense projects are hanging. Can you believe this? And then we have city authorities, we have the regional minister, and all the people that matters within the Secretary Takrady enclave. And they've forgotten that before that sea defense project was initiated and then completed, they have forgotten the situation that they used to live in. And they will sit for this to happen, and then they will come back to government. The government should do something about it.
Mr. Pomesa, don't go yet. Let me bring in Abdallah Larry. He is the Public Relations Officer for NADMO. Abdallah, welcome to the program. I'll come to you shortly. But listening to your conversation, so who is to blame? Is it failure of legislation, enforcement, or really the political will to crack the whip?
I believe sincerely that it is not something we don't have the regulations. We have the laws. But unfortunately, the enforcement of the laws and the political will to do that. And I believe that NADMO should not sit down until disaster strikes before they come in. They have to also do this preventive. I've just reported about Secretary Takrady. They should send their men over there. And I'm sure they are aware of what is happening at the beaches where they are molding blocks.
Thankfully, we have NADMO on the line.
Mr. Larry, Gemma here. So the checks on the Volta Basin show massive encroachment on riverbanks with structures built illegally inside buffer zones. Has this come to your attention?
Yeah, so just as we discussed with Steve earlier, we've had our workshop today with regards to what's happening there. That has to do with the spillage. And also we had an overview of the entire emergency preparedness plan, which we have discussed so many things with regards to this issue. So in due time, we will be able to bring out proposals on how to deal with some of these encroachments. But what has to do with whatever is happening there, we have our various district directors there who are working, intensively to avoid some of these encroaches. And
Mr.
then
Larry,
we have
you
also signaled the
sorry to cut you,
MMD.
Mr. Larry, if you can hear me, sorry to cut you, but you mentioned in due time. What exactly do you mean by that? Because VRA is saying that it's this encroachment is limiting the ability to manage water, and we could see what happened in 2023 when at Kosovo they had to spill excess water.
Yeah, so this village thing also came up in our workshop today, and this is something we are working towards it, and I'm not sure there will be any disaster that has to do with that spillage now, because we have worked towards the preventive aspect, and I believe anything that has to do with that spillage wouldn't be able to affect or have a great impact on the community.
So you're saying we shouldn't be worried about the situation?
No, you see, we are actually on our awareness creation right now to be able to let the people know, because their actions could cause the adverse effects of the spillage. Right now, we are working towards preventing whatever impact it will have on the people there.
But the people
And
have
we are
already
also-
built there. There are already buildings there. They've already encroached the river banks. So
Yeah, so the MMDAs there are working hand in hand with the VRA people too as well to make sure that all those who have encroached will be all evacuated out of those places, because that's not the right place to build up properties.
are you working with any timeline?
For now, this is an emergency situation that we are not able to give a specific timeline as to when we'll be able to done. But we are working, within the shortest possible time to make sure that all these people are moved out of those places. Because that's a
Right.
buffer area that no one should put up any structure there.
Larry, is that an admission of failure in enforcement? Or are you saying there are political interferences making it difficult to ensure that these people do not encroach these areas?
We cannot say there's been a political interference, because all the people that we are working with, they are complying and giving us that support. And so far, so good. There hasn't been any hurdle or obstruction of any activities that NADMO has taken that effort to do. We have had the support of the various MMDAs and the authorities at that community. So I don't think there's been any political interference in this regard.
If another spillage happens tomorrow, just like what happened during the Akosombo Dam spillage 3 years ago, how prepared is NADMO to tackle that issue?
Yeah, so together with VRA, we have prepared an emergency preparedness plan, which we had the overview of it with all the infographics. And from where I sit here, I could be able to tell you that there wouldn't be a disaster like we experienced in the years past. NADMO has, together with the Volta River Authority, to make sure that there has been this resilience in the community, that there wouldn't be that great impact like it happened in the past.
We heard from the Ada East DC, Kenneth Kano, who mentioned that there's politically backed land reclamation because there are politically exposed people who had built there. They're finding it difficult to evacuate them. Is that the reason why you haven't moved in yet already?
Like I mentioned earlier, NADMO cannot confirm any political interference because we haven't had any obstruction to whatever activities that we have set out as part of the preparedness to our upcoming rainy season.
Right. Okay. Larry, don't go yet. Vincent Opona Samoa. He's the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee. He's still on the telephone lines with us. Mr. Opona Samoa, listening to Larry, do you think really there's an issue that he's not mentioning to us?
Oh, I believe that I'm even happy about how he had described the whole thing. So it gives a lot of hope that at least we can avoid disaster. So they are on the ground. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But all that we are all looking at is we don't have to gather your occurrence of what happened 3 years ago. So they need to work very hard, and I'm sure most of the MDCs are listening to us. I believe that they want to move in very quickly to ensure that this thing doesn't recur.
You are the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee. It appears that enforcement is a bit difficult. Listening to the NADMO PRO, what are you going to do in your capacity to ensure that enforcement is a bit easier for these people?
I think what we need to do, at least we need to also do some monitoring. We have to go to that place to ascertain the truth or otherwise of what my colleague on the other side, the decision he has given. And decide that every citizen of this state also have the right to give reports as to if there's any situation that would also, if we have any drain that are also be salted, we can also be informed so that we can also put pressure on the ministry And we urge the finance minister to also release funding to the ministry so that the hydrology can ensure that most of the drains that are being sorted will be cleared. We need to prepare ourselves for it, not in Volta region alone. I think Greater Accra too, there are a lot of hotspots that we need to work on so that we may not have what occurred some years back.
Vincent Opona Samuel, thank you very much. He's the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee in Parliament. Earlier we heard from Abdallah Larry. He is the public relations officer of NATMO. It's now time for business. Winston Taki is here with the latest.
Hello, Ken. Now, in business, fuel price is expected to ease from Friday after National Petroleum Authority announced new price floor today, and the cedi extends depreciation trend for past 2 weeks as $1 equals 11 cedis 85 pesos at forex bureaus. Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent, Charcoal and Herbal. My name is Winston Taki. We have details after this break.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became #1. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
Syntex Tango!
Syntex, hey, tough, very strong. If you want quality, this be where you belong. Syntex, hey, tough, very strong. Oh, gonna shout, sing the song.
Strong as anything.
project you they start. Every mosquito standing run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
Enjoy homemade taste of shito always with Didi Shito. Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. That's how we taste. Spicy we eat.
Didi Shito, if you do need. This advert is FDA approved.
If the two of you devils would just be quiet so I can get some rest.
What did I do wrong?
Oh, be quiet. The child shall always be.
Then let me play with my fellow children. Why should you share my bed if I disgust you so much? You are the real hypocrite.
Hey.
I say you're supposed your head to me. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. You pay for the samples and you pay for the pain.
This Mother's Day weekend, treat yourself and your mother to a theatrical masterpiece. Answers Mother's Tears, showing at the National Theatre of Ghana, starring Jifaglikwe, Ajetianam, Victor Lutrot, Biwa Tara, Mavis Abrokwa, Fred Amugi, and many more. Date, 7th, 8th, and 9th May. Time, 7th and 8th May at 7 p.m. each night. 9th May at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Rate, 200 Ghana Cedis regular and 300 Ghana Cedis VIP. Simply dial *920*60# or call 0545-320-062 for tickets and inquiries. This production is brought to you by Film Africa in partnership with Fifi Coleman Productions. This production is free for all mothers above the age of 60.
Welcome back to the business news on Newsline, brought to you by MTN Kingdom Books and Stationery, Centers Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal. Let's now settle for the details. Fuel prices at the pumps are set to ease slightly from Friday, May 1st, 2026, as the National Petroleum Authority announces lower price floors for petrol and a more significant reduction for diesel in its latest pricing window. The following report has more.
In a pricing notice dated April 28, the National Petroleum Authority said the adjustment forms part of its bi-monthly review mechanism covering May 1 to May 15, reflecting shifting global crude prices and exchange rate movements. Under the new rate, petrol has been set at a minimum price of 13 cedis 25 pesos per litre, while diesel stands at 14 cedis 30 pesos per litre. Liquefied petroleum gas is priced at 13 cedis per kilogram, with kerosene and marine gas oil set at 16 cedis 13 pesos and 15 cedis 41 pesos respectively. Compared to the previous pricing window in mid-April, petrol has seen a marginal reduction of 2 pesos, while diesel has dropped significantly by 1 cedi 80 pesos per litre. While it is unclear whether subsidies recently introduced by the government will continue into the new pricing window or be adjusted ahead of the mid-year fiscal review, the NPA continues to remind oil and LPG marketing companies to comply with the new price floor recommendations.
That was a news desk report. Meanwhile, industry players are weighing in on the expected price adjustment. Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amoah, says the projection points to a sharp drop for diesel consumers, while petrol prices are likely to remain largely unchanged.
What I can put on record is that you are more likely to see the prices of diesel decline, whilst that of PMS is likely to remain stable or even go up slightly. For users of diesel, I would naturally be expecting some 4-5% decline in current pump prices. And then I do think that for petrol, if it doesn't stay stable, you may end up rather paying just a little more because the current window, which of course phases out by Thursday night, midnight, you saw a lot of the OMC's pricing diesel a bit lower than originally anticipated. So
that was Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa. In a related development, the regulator is also tightening safety oversight in the sector. The National Petroleum Authority has reiterated a directive to oil marketing companies to prioritize safety over profit. Chief Executive of the authority, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, is cautioning industry players to invest more in safety systems and risk prevention measures to protect lives, assets, and the environment. Speaking at the Safety Week celebration of GRIDCo PLC, he stressed that adherence to safety standard is non-negotiable in the downstream petroleum sector.
You notice that anytime there is an oil spill, either BP, ExxonMobil, the costs involved in cleaning up the mess becomes a burden to shareholders. And so shareholders today are more interested in knowing your safety protocols than anything. Because in a twinkle of an eye, a little disaster can wipe away your entire stock and your performance. And so if there is anything that is so critical to this organization, it is not just the volumes, but how you treat the environment, how you take the issues of safety and the health needs of your people.
That was Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. Away from the petroleum sector, developments on the currency market are also in focus. The Ghana cedi has extended a depreciation trend over the past 2 weeks, trading at about 11 cedis 85 pesos to the dollar at forex bureaus, albeit with milder volatility. The local currency recorded fluctuations of about 0.5% compared to a historical weekly average of around 2.1%. The following report has more.
On the interbank market, the Ghana cedi weakened by 0.54% to a mid-rate of 11 cedis 9 pesos against the dollar, while the pound and the euro declined by 0.95% and 0.47% to 14 cedis 99 pesos and 12 cedis 99 pesos respectively. The retail rates mirrored this with steeper drops of 2.1% depreciation of the cedi to the dollar to trade at 11 cedis 93 pesos. The Ghana cedi also depreciated by 2.5% against the pound to sell at 15 cedis 78 pesos, whilst the euro appreciated by 3.09% against the cedi to trade at 13 cedis 78 pesos. Since the beginning of the year, the cedi has lost approximately 2.55% of its value against the American greenback, with a month-on-month depreciation of 0.79% between March 2026 and April 2026. Broadly in line with this earlier view, Data Bank research said the mounting import demand continues to weigh on the cedi as traders restock ahead of mid-year consumer demand. In the first week of the next review window, Data Bank said it expects this buy-side pressure, together with relative cautious foreign exchange supply, to keep the market under mild strain. It added that the sentiment should improve in the second week if the IMF staff mission concludes positively, potentially unlocking about $385 million subject to the IMF board approval. Meanwhile, the cedi began this week going for 11 cedis 85 pesos to the US dollar at the forex bureaus.
That was a News Desk report, and that is where we bring the curtains down here on the business news on Newsnight. Now, over to you, Ken, for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you very much, Winston. Let's do sports.
Now, the sports minister, Kofi Adams, has defended the Ghana Football Association's decision to convert the Black Stars head coach's official residence into a technical directorate hub. Now, his comments come following discussions about the new head coach, Carlos Queiroz, who is currently staying in a hotel ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, according to the minister, the GFA is within its right to determine how to utilize allocated facilities, insisting that the state is not bearing the cost of the coach's accommodation.
place, it will still not be available for the new coach. That's all that I'm trying to say. So that is why the FA would have to look for the accommodation, a permanent accommodation for the coach. The FA will have to do that. The FA will not come back to the state, say, Munko here another facility. They are either converting that facility and renovating it back into a residential or looking for another one.
FA na
betua. Of course, the state has already provided one. And they had not come to me for almost 1.5 years by a minister and said, accommodation for the coach. They haven't. We have not paid accommodation for Coach Otoado. So it means they know that they are not supposed to come and ask for any rent for a coach because that has been provided.
Right, so that's the sports minister. Then before I leave, there will be Champions League tonight with Bayern Munich facing Paris Saint-Germain with the Joy Sports team bringing you live commentary at Electroland Ghana live at Ring Road.
Thank you very much for bringing us the latest in sports. A few of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Dr. Tiojedu Gabra from Katamanso says, lights out in the Katamanso area since morning. As we speak, there is still no power. Lincoln in Aquitiman says MPP should give Ghanaians a break. They were in power for 8 years. How many megawatts of power did they add before leaving office? Mauli Latte says, as I am listening to you now, we have a blackout in Ashiye. Kwesi in Kaswa says, the light just went off at 6:17 while I was preparing my lecture notes for tomorrow. How can I continue with my notes? There are more messages from Francis in Accra, who says that Ghanaians have now seen what they describe as sabotage plans in the power sector, including the burning of a GRIDCo switching center. More messages. Ajiman Joseph in Community 9. This one from Nana Ekwiyamwa Boatin in Ablekuma Central. Nick in Agbogba, Sun City. Isa Tanimu from Boko. Kwame Tre from UK, and a host of others. But for the sake of time, we can't do that for you. Let's leave you with a story.
Now, retired Supreme Court Judge William Atuguba has criticized the NDC government's approach to governance, describing it as careless. He points to the party's earlier call to reset the judiciary while in opposition, noting that former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu was the only one removed. Speaking in an exclusive interview with me, Justice Atuguba said judges with political alignment should be removed to sanitize the judiciary.
I think that the NDC, often when they come to power, they are somehow careless about the governance system. I'm telling you this, careless. And I'll demonstrate. You are in opposition. You are fighting, hey, this part is not correct, this part is not correct, it ought to be this, ratify. Have they done it? Huh? Look at all the, you can go through all the shoutings they made against certain things they said were not going well. Have they confronted those things headlong and corrected them properly?
Which things are you talking about here?
All right. For example, you are talking of, judiciary. Eh? If they did their homework well and they track facts, is it only the Chief Justice who was the cause of unanimous FC?
That's it for News Night. You can catch the full interview with Gemma Appiah on all our social media handles. Join news on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm Kenneth. Gyasi.
I am Gemma Appiah.
Right after here, though, is Geek Squad. Appiah is already in the studio. What are we discussing tonight?
Tonight on Geek Squad, we will dive into Ghana's national AI strategy and what it really means for everyday life. So in short, we'll look at what the strategy entails, why it matters, and then how it impacts